Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, we'll start the City of Olivet Planning Community Design Commission for June 16th, 2022 for order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Rob Turbo,
Present.
Carol Wagner. Freddie Rich, present. Richard Brophy,
Present.
Brian Lewis,
Absent.
Dan Rosenberg,
Present.
and Tim Spiegelglass.
Absent. Okay, let it also be known that our city council liaison, Councilmember Missy Waldman is in attendance, as well as Carlos Trejo, the Director of Olivet's Planning and Community Development Department, as well as Don Doty, Senior Planner in that department, as well as Bridget Waters, Administrative Assistant in that department. Carlos, am I missing anybody? Who else might be online?
That's it.
Okay, good, good. All right, well, thanks for everybody in attendance. This is quite a full house. Just to go over the procedures with you, if, or anybody who else is in attendance, we do have a time for public comments at the beginning. So if it's not related to anything on the agenda, we ask you to, state your, present your public comments. If you do have something that's related to the agenda, we ask that you wait till the agenda is presented. We do ask anybody who comes to the podium to state their name and address for the record. And if anybody, like the public, has a comment on a particular agenda item or general comment, we do ask you to limit your discussions to no more than 3 minutes and try not to be redundant, to be respectful of everybody's time, and so we can kind of move through the agenda items. So as we go through each item, there'll be a staff report. Staff will discuss it. We'll have some questions and answers among staff, and then we'll typically bring on the petitioner and then also ask if there's any comments related to that agenda item. So we're pretty informal here too. So, but we do have some formality that we have to maintain. So, all right, Carlos, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it all, sir.
Okay, good, good. So we'll move on. Let's do public comments. Carlos, do we have any public comments?
There's nobody online, and the only individual here is for a petition item.
Okay, very good. So we'll move on to old business, and this is item A. It's 9600 Ashman Drive.
Chairman, this has been on the commission's agenda since April. It initially started out as a 3-car garage new home. It was adjusted following some concerns regarding the south side yard setback, and the 3-car garage was reduced to a 2-car garage, and that increased the side yard setback an additional 10 to 12 feet. There was an email that was received from the adjacent southern owner expressing appreciation for the additional setback. This came to the commission at its last meeting on June 2nd, but the commission had concerns regarding the elevation on the south side, which is the 3-car garage elevation. Revision has been submitted here, hoping to address the commission's concerns. And you have that in your packet. Also in the packet, you have the previous elevation. Both of them should be on the first page. In there, their goal was to try to break up that elevation on that first level and on the basement exposure portion of the lot. We have a representative with THD who represents Mr. Weber, who's the petitioner, to kind of talk about some of the concerns of adding an additional window on the first level because that wall is the kitchen. And so we put together the plans here for the commission to take a look at. There are kitchen cabinets that run along that south elevation, along with the stove in there that kind of minimize or limit the placement of windows along that elevation on the first level. On the second level, you'll see is a unfinished basement area. And there was just some general concerns about placement of a window in that area for the purposes of placing the window. But the petitioner took consideration the commission's comments and concerns, and they're proposing as a solution is to add additional stone on that elevation to try to break up some of the brickwork illustrated there. Be glad to answer any specific questions. Again, we do have a representative from the petitioner.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yes, cost, the design of the proposed veneer appears to be different than the one shown on the other side of the garage. I'm not sure if they mean for it to be different or if they mean for it to be the same. And what would they just draw it wrong or what?
In an effort just to get it in for the commission, I believe it's to match the. Yeah, that's what I figured. So the intent is to match and keep it the same. Yes.
Okay. I just thought it warranted the question.
No,
It's a good clarification. I think right now, I don't think there's any other questions or comments. Maybe we can hear from the petitioner. That'd be great.
There we go. Is that better?
Oh, it's perfect. Remember to state your name and address for the
Yes,
record.
sir. Matt Post, I'm with THD Design Group. Our address is 148 Chesterfield Industrial Boulevard, Suite E, Chesterfield, Missouri, 63005. I need my phone number too.
No,
No,
that's
okay.
fine. We can look it up.
All right, so Mr. Weber reached out to me regarding the last PCDC. I was unfortunately unable to attend. I had other affairs. And mentioned the discussion about that entire side being just a brick facade. He had mentioned that there was a talk about a window possibly in the first level and in the lower level. The window, as Carlos mentioned, in the first level would be centered right where the stove is at and where the hood vent for that layout would be. So that doesn't make a lot of suitable sense. The lower level, that particular portion of the basement is proposed to be unfinished and is actually a utility area for the furnace and water heater, et cetera. So that area likely is to remain unfinished and as storage. So inclusion of a window there isn't really benefiting the homeowner in any way. And if it's open, you're just gonna see unfinished basement and people's junk down in the basement. So I recommended to Mr. Weber that we propose the similar brick veneer on the western side or the left-hand side of this elevation. It kind of frames in the brick, and we still do have a decent mass of brick, but I think it helps to eliminate some of what it just looks like a overwhelming amount. You at least have something to break the visual in different places.
Question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the attempt to address this. I realize you're dealing with some challenges. A question that I have is whether it's possible to also reduce the amount of brick by changing the slope of the ground in that area, like to bring it up a little bit.
There could be an attempt to do so. That side of the property falls off rather steep. On that side, you come up, you're a lot more flat in the face of the home. As you come around the corner of Ashmont, you really start to dive down. We have the garage set to where the drive is relatively flat. You don't have a really steep garage. So as we hit that, then we really got to dive off to get down to this walkout area down
Right.
below. So if I was to have to raise the grade along that side, it's going to require additional retaining wall, more than likely, to make up the difference in grade if you come down that sidewall.
How about, I'm trying here. What about a pathway that goes, like a sidewalk that goes along there with a railing or something? Just anything to break up that brick.
How about blank?
Yeah, I mean, the concern I would have with the retaining wall is the expense of putting one in. I've seen.
Planter wall is going to be. Planter wall is actually possibly a little bit more, depending on the height of it. It might have to be reinforced with steel. It's going to be poured in place concrete wall. A brick or a brick veneer added to it, or stone.
My personal perspective on this is that if this was the back of the house, it wouldn't be a big deal, but this is a corner lot. It's gonna be facing the street. And it's still a lot of brick.
It is. And like I said, we face limitations on that wall. You know, I know Mr. Weber has put in a lot of effort to make this house work on this lot. He's lost an entire third car garage that is deemed appropriate by market to help with the setback issues in the rear. You know, it's a nice brick he's gonna have on the side. It's not just, you know, perfect inline. It's gonna have some character to it. I thought about trying to run stone veneer along the bottom too, but I think that's gonna make it look even more weird as you come down that slope. You know, so there really isn't a whole lot we can do in that particular spot.
I've got an idea. What if you put one or two clerestory type windows near towards the top, but you could put them almost level with to the garage and we'd be able to.
Well, again, that whole wall is cabinetry and countertop and stove.
Mhm.
So in that first level there, there's really nowhere to do it. And that
Just
is the
cabinet.
longest wall in the kitchen. So that's where all your space is set up to be.
Do those cabinets go to the ceiling or is there?
I'm not certain on that. I can ask him and see. You're talking about just like almost like a vent window up above the
Yeah.
cabinetry.
Yeah.
I can certainly ask him and see, but I don't know the facts on the interior model. I just know what you guys see, you know, in your floor plan.
I mean, even one or two, two up there, to help bring extra light in to the kitchen and bring some
Would it be
differentiation.
would it be possible for, I know I've seen in other residences more, usually out in St. Charles County, so they have a little stone patch. It's not a uniform shape, it's just kind of a,
I was actually gonna propose some courses of different colored brick or something. I don't
Okay.
know, sometimes there's decorative, you any better ideas?
Well, I was gonna say, can you tell us more about the brick? Because I think this like pattern is just not.
yeah,
really
and so
doing
it's
thing
hard when you're
justice.
looking at these to really get an idea. If he had a rendering, that would probably serve it a lot of good. When you're trying to draw these, and from my perspective as a draftsman, you're trying to make it visible, but also not just a solid color and busy, and you get lost looking at what it is. A lot of times when you see these, they don't typically use brick actually as a patcher in your houses. They use this vertical line and they call it brick veneer. This one's a little bit more dense than I'm used to seeing. They're typically spaced a little bit more. But for this, I'm not for sure the color of brick he's got, but I don't believe it's a red brick. I think it's more of a brownish earth tone brick that will be in conjunction with the stone veneer.
Is there a big price difference between the brick veneer and the stone veneer?
It's 3 times the cost now. Right now, they're running the standard brick. I think it's $12 a square foot, where the stone veneer, I've heard quotes of $30 to $36 a square foot. I'm not an expert, but talking with a developer recently, that there is a pretty significant difference between the two.
Well, he may possibly be able to put like across the garage, you have sometimes that turn brick that acts as a ledge, right?
Right.
Goes across the face of your house. You typically see it when you have a siding to a brick veneer. You have that lip that comes out. He may possibly be able to run something like that over that way. But again, I don't really have the levity to make cost decisions for him. The thing that we've discussed was this additional brick veneer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. I think like Richard was saying with the either different color courses or even like looks like you already have soldier course over here, or even reveal course, or even some sort of bullnose or something.
Where
I
would
don't
you
know.
put that soldier course, kind of as like a
I'm not
chair wheel
sure.
height
Yeah.
kind of thing, and bring it across in the middle?
I think if it was gonna be lower, I'd probably want to see more of like a sill course, but I don't know. You know,
Kind of like something like that. Carry it across.
Yeah, either that or a little higher.
Yeah. Still, I'm not sure that
Yeah.
really gains you much, quite frankly. You still got that main wall. I mean,
If it was higher, like hip height, I mean, I've seen that done in houses where you have like a hip height, I don't know, you call it sill floors. Where it sticks out kind of a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Do you know what we're talking about?
Pardon?
Give it them.
So I'd like to, I'd really like to see,
Work it into the brick. Just in the corners of the house. And it breaks up that area. It doesn't require any openings into the walls that. And I've seen that quite frequently, in several large home developments.
intercourse. you mean?
Yes. So it's more just like, it looks, a lot of them kind of have a similar shape. They start out at the top and they kind of widen out and come back down to the bottom. And you can do one or two of them, so on and so forth. Same intent is to break up the brick facade. But when you have walls of this nature, where it's, again, putting a window in the unfinished area, the basement is gonna remain unfinished because it's the utility area doesn't do any good for the homeowner or the other person, other than if they go down there and lights that out, it's daytime, they can open up the blinds. And then again, in the kitchen, you have to try and reorganize an entire kitchen, again, that utilizing the longest wall in the kitchen. So really, a window is about the least attractive option.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I'd like to suggest that the petitioner come back, say to Carlos, with a enhanced design, shall we say, for that garage. And Carlos, we just leave it up to you to use your best judgment.
I think I
So-
have an understanding of what the commission is, and I think we can work with Mr. Weber.
So you're saying
And-
that it would be approved by Carlos at the
That
time of
w-
submission?
Right, now we could move this forward.
Yeah, we would, yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Weber would like to move it forward.
Yeah.
It's been a-
We
Yeah.
want to move forward too.
Right.
We want to too, and you can work with Carlos to figure the details out, but I think you know what we're kind of looking for.
Yeah.
Do you feel about
Great
that?
idea.
What about, do you still, if we did something different that we've been discussing, would we still want that stone veneer on the other side? Does that make sense?
I think my view is yes, because it matches with stone corners throughout the rest of the house.
Okay,
And, yeah,
and then just some sort of element inside.
Yeah,
To break up the mats.
Yeah.
or something.
Now, it could be, I would assume, being that center part of that brick veneer, I'm assuming it's on your monitors.
no,
It's
we're
not-
seeing on the same
no.
section.
Okay, that's, bear with
Yeah,
me.
We just see us.
All right. You guys up now?
Look lovely. but-
It's kind of, don't like how bald my head is.
That's why I moved myself to the side.
Every time I go to one of those, I look up.
Jackson's right.
Children. Children.
Okay, the building plans are now in front
Yes.
on the
Okay.
monitors. One of the things we'll talk with Mr. Weber is, the stove is right here in this area. And maybe there's an opportunity just to kind of create a relief, knowing that there's something back there that's different in there, that mimics or mocks that there is something
Almost like a chimney run.
correct. So we'll talk with him about that.
Okay.
Oh, kind of like with the stone veneer, or would it be?
whether it's through the brick or that, as I'm assuming there'll be some type of exhaust. Now that could be going up to the roof, but there will probably be some
Yeah,
type of
you'll have
stove
your,
exhaust.
The hood vent for your stove and then your, vent pipe for your sink. Going up through the peak of the roof. I may be able to talk to Mr. Weber about adding.
So
just
it'd
the
be like right at this
bricks
point.
Out across for like a chimney facade, just to bring it out one and then up, and that would at least change dimension along the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that brick
think that would be-
right around here, if that brick can just pop out a little bit more and then just create a relief of what's back there.
Great idea.
Okay.
Carl.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Carol.
I'd like to proceed to make a motion to approve the petition for site plan, community design and concept stormwater management plan review for a new single-family home at 9600 Ashmont Drive, as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Development dated June 2, 2022, subject to any staff conditions noted there.
Motion's been made. Do I hear a second? Motion's been made by Carol Wagner, seconded by Richard Brophy. Carlos, you please call the vote.
And Chairman, I'll just note for the record that the date should be the June 16th, and I apologize if I put
June 16th.
as presented today, so.
Good, correct.
All right, on the roll call, Commissioner Rosenberg. Approved. Commissioner Brophy.
Approved.
Commissioner Rich.
Approved.
Commissioner Wagner.
Approved.
Commissioner Jurgel.
Approved.
The motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank
Sounds
you
good,
very
guys. I
much.
appreciate it, and all you dads, have a happy Father's Day this weekend.
You too.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Goodbye.
All right, good. So we'll move on to other business. Item A, text amendment. Carlos, did I hear that this has been,
The item will be requested to be deferred.
okay, very good. So I guess we're on to meeting minutes. Do we have any? minutes?
I was very close to completing Ms. Waters' minutes, and I didn't have the opportunity to do so. So I'll have those for the next meeting.
Okay.
And these were the ones regarding the text amendment on the marijuana cultivation, the BP Amico, and then the 3 homes, including this one that were before the commission.
Okay,
I
great.
just had to look up some names.
So we're on to reports.
Yes, yes. On the reports, the first thing I'll note that our next meeting, the first meeting in July, I believe it is the 7th. I will be out of town, so I'm requesting the commission cancel that meeting. We did not receive any petitions or anything pending, and this item has moved forward, so we'll resolve that. We will have, I believe there is a new home for the second meeting in July and continue discussions.
I will actually also be on vacation. So I'm totally fine with
Okay.
that. I think we should consider that a summer break.
So I'm gonna take a summer month because the
Approved.
following PCDC meeting I'll be on.
Oh, okay. So enjoy.
A couple of event notes, but I'm gonna go today, councilperson Rick Knox had a presentation before the Olivet Creek Corps Chamber of Commerce. And some of the presentation items I did want to bring forward to the commission real quickly, since we have a little bit of time here. But one was some data on the demographics. I believe that should be going again to your dais. In there, you know, so the changing population characteristics of Olivet, we've grown nearly 10% between the 2 decennial census. The city is getting younger. We're not, but the city is. So, and that is difficult to do in the St. Louis County region because in this area, it is an older population, and that we hear that constantly as they're trying to change the course and create a more active region to avoid what they call that brain drain and things of that nature. Household medium income, of course, has increased by over 1/3. The number of bachelor degrees or hires has increased over 15%. More people are employed. Of course, that's common with the nation as a whole. The number of housing units increased 0.8%, and we'll see that continued growth as we move into the next decennial in there. And then the number of households has declined, and that's an interesting component because that's the traditional household. the diversity, and both culturally, of all of that has changed. So we have more, same-sex couples, single parents, all different alternative, lifestyles, in our community. So that decline in households just reflects, the decline in the traditional household. In terms, that is correct.
So single family or single parent families are not included in that?
Not in the traditional household, correct.
Wow, I did not know.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't have to do with like the actual number of homes or anything like it. It has to do with a grouping of people, defined as the nucleus or we would determine.
It's based on an old census
mhm,
definition.
yes.
Okay, but and then even if you are same-sex marriages, they.
I don't count.
Sure. That doesn't make sense.
It gets into a very, trying to redefine those definitions gets
Yeah.
very,
Tricky.
subjective.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, some, age cohort demographics last, and, you know, we've always had, a strong young population and a strong old population that continued to grow. We still could see it here. But now we see some changes in that middle population. We, while the 35 to 44 year old did decline, we're seeing more, 25 to 34 and 45 to 54. And again, that reflects more people coming in with more children into our community. And of course, that a byproduct of the school district, success of the school district. And then this, again, represents, our community at its best, the diversity of all of that. We're one of the most diverse, we are the most diverse, municipality in St. Louis County and probably within the region. And, this graph that we represent here, shows all of that compared to the Ladue School District in St. Louis County. And the biggest factor is the Asian, which is shown in gray. You know, the 16.7% of Olivet's population has some type of Asian descent. The county average is 4.5. The school district is about 12.3. So you have a stronger concentration, and also multiracial individuals. As you see, we're at 7.2%. The average of the county is 3.5%. So again, that reflects one of our, it's a strength of the community and the school district and the Central County region. They presented, you know, the changing corridor with the intent in the past 20 years with the adoption of the 2006 comprehensive plan was an effort to create an Olivet identity. You know, one of the biggest things was that people would drive through 170 and next thing they're at 270 and they didn't know that they went through different municipalities at that time. But people are starting to recognize when you enter Olivet and when you leave Olivet. And that's been one of the byproducts of and aspects that we've been working on in our comprehensive plan, and that is to create that identity. These were some shots that we talked about, you know, our city center district, where we're not trying to create a downtown, but to create a definable center in there. The attention and detail given to the pedestrian way and the sidewalks. The landscaping, you know, how you can make a Firestone, you know, be part of the community and enhance the corridor, even though it's a Firestone. And along with Plant Haven, that being, you know, a market-driven development opportunity that, you know, given that the other activities the city took kind of generated those. Here's a picture of the interior of the Oliver. They will be ready for occupancy by the end of this month. But here's the pool, the cabana, and some of the public areas for those. We had Birdie Lane, Mr. Cohen's townhouses, and of course the Opus development off of Alice Place. And that was kind of reflecting the changing in housing in our community and trying to maintain alternative and affordable housing opportunities in there, whether they were rental, whether they're being attached homes, or even the traditional detached single family home. And our focus is there. And I think those were those were the segments I thought were great for the commission, just to kind of be aware. Well done presentation by Councilmember Knox. And I think we expressed ourselves in all of it pretty well. A couple of other items, we will have offices closed this Monday for the Juneteenth observation. Next week, if you have an opportunity, whether it is at the community center or here at City Hall, we have collection bins for Mayors on Meals. So if you can drop off any food donations, would be greatly appreciated. Again, remember, office hours or the city offices will only be open Tuesday through Friday of next week. Citywide garage sale is scheduled for the week of June 25th and 26th. 39 North is having a happy hour mix at the Helix Center. City is hosting its Coffee with the Mayor, the first by Mayor Will in her tenure this year on July 13th. And then Party in the Park is to be determined for September, Don? Okay, so they haven't had set the date yet. And I believe Olivet Night Out is scheduled for the last week of August. Yeah, August 31st. So, and there, development updates. If you go by Warson Road and look at Warson Park from the pre-core side, you'll see that wall is up already. That's the wall that separates the gym from some of the kitchen meeting room. So it's kind of neat because now you're starting to see that third dimension come into place. They did talk at the council that there's a delay in the opening, and that probably won't be till March. And their work continues on all the other city parks, and they seem to be going okay. Weather has played a role. We had a discussion with the developer of Olive Crossing, Mr. Yowitz, and he had indicated the allotted weather days that they had scheduled for the apartment complex had all been used already. So again, the weather has played some havoc in construction along with everything else in the process. Old Bonham Elementary continues. A lot of work going on in the interior. The Oliver, again, they're scheduled to open up by the end of this month. I think the last number we heard was 70% the occupancy. So that's been pretty impressive. We're looking forward to that. Plant Haven Commercial Center, they're starting work on the interior improvements on the Plant Haven side. So that's the eastern end of the building. Firestone, they should be scheduling a grand opening within the next week or two. I haven't got the exact date yet. Olive Crossing, you'll start seeing again that third dimension, both the garage and the stairway enclosure starting to pop up, and then framing probably happening in the next 2 weeks on the apartment side. So that will move pretty quickly. Irvington and Rhyme, the Opus development on Alice Place, they are doing some reevaluation of their numbers and going out for bid in there, and they hope to start construction or activity back again in August. Easy Storage, we anticipate by next month we'll have the architectural plans to begin review in there, and that project starting to move finally. So we're anxious about that. And I think that kind of covers it. Don, do you have anything additional?
Nothing to add.
Hey, Missy?
Alice as always does a wonderful job. I have my little calendar up and yep, even remembered to do a National Night Out. I do want to say, having lived in this community pretty much most of my life, I do remember the days when you were no longer seeing children playing in the streets in Indian Meadows. There's a lot of bikes that you go up and down the hills. It is wonderful to see that this population shift has occurred within our community. I always look at the numbers, and we've been increasing in many ways over the last 20 years with regards to certain things, and the diversity just continues. And the achievements that Carlos has talked about, thank you for your service. You know, a lot of this has to go through review. So appreciate everything that you guys do, and the members that were here before you, and the staff and the citizens giving you the ability to do what you do. So this is wonderful. It's all great. We're gonna embark on the comprehensive plan again and see where we go. So again, thanks. Have a great holiday, 4th of July. We won't see each other again. Be safe.
Very good. The only thing I want to add is just, if we do have any kind of smaller meetings, maybe we should think of kind of a list of things that we want to do. We had some discussions last meeting about looking at other businesses that might generate odors that may not be covered, on our plan. So maybe if we can, think about if we can add that to a discussion item, or just start kind of talking about that and planning ahead. Maybe if we have our big plan that we need to kind of put together, maybe start having some kind of discussions on that. Carol?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I really think that if we're going to deal with potential businesses that cause smells, we really need to deal with it on a
Permanent.
business district-wide basis, not just nitpicking little pieces. And
Right.
We either have a policy or we don't. And
Right. See if it's sufficient. see
Yeah,
if there's
I
other-
think it's a misguided to do otherwise.
And if there's anything else, while you're thinking on our PCDC summer break. that
Yeah.
we want to add, some things to proactively think about,
Planters down the middle of Olive Boulevard. I'm never giving that up. Not ever.
and what-
Mhm.
so it's kind of like, well, how do we get there?
You know, they got that from federal dollars.
Well, let's go get some.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's something we should talk about, like the strategies of, trying to go after stuff like that. Long-term goals, we can call it.
I bring that up only because, and here I go, I'm not gonna be on my soapbox for long, but the main problem with Olive is that it's like a giant highway, and so it's difficult for us to have outdoor dining or pleasant walking experiences when you've got all these cars going both ways and nothing but a giant asphalt strip. Once you introduce those planters, you break it up, you reduce some of the noise, and you create an environment that's more conducive to having outdoor dining, and higher end establishments. So I think it's not just about beautifying Olive, it's about a triggering moment for creating some change down that Olive corridor.
And it stops that quick bullet, let's get out, and next thing you know, you're almost hitting one car with
Right.
another car. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might improve traffic flow in some ways.
You just think about a road diet. Slow right now.
Slow but yeah.
Well, I like this. So let's come up with a list. I think we can add to that, and maybe we can kind of forecast ahead at our agenda and see if we can maybe have some of those on our agenda that we can discuss. And if we're too busy, then we can just push those off. Kind of think of them as long-term goals. So,
Sounds good.
good. Anything else? That being said, we'll adjourn at 7:45.
Thank you, gentlemen.